My beloved child. Listen closely, because what you are about to hear is not a story meant to comfort you, it is a truth meant to wake you. There is a person in your life who holds your heart tightly, a person whose presence feels familiar, safe, almost sacred. You have built memories with them that feel untouchable, moments that replay in your mind like proof that what you share is real. Yet tonight, something unseen begins to surface. It starts as a quiet disturbance, a strange pause between words, a look that arrives a second too late, a warmth that feels practiced instead of natural. You feel it but you push it away, because attachment teaches the heart to defend what it loves even before the mind can question it. You tell yourself that distance is temporary, that silence has an innocent reason, that love does not suddenly change its rhythm. But truth does not knock loudly. It waits patiently. It allows you to keep believing until belief itself begins to feel heavy. This is where the test begins. Not outside of you, but within you. Because the strongest bonds are not broken by strangers. They are shaken by the realization that what you trusted most has been living a double meaning. Every word spoken to you has started carrying a shadow. Every promise has begun to echo twice. And still, you hold on, because attachment does not release easily. It tightens when threatened. It tells you that letting go would hurt more than staying unaware. But awareness has already chosen you. That subtle discomfort you feel is not fear. It is recognition. Something in your life is no longer aligned with the truth you deserve, and the longer you ignore it, the louder it will become. This moment is not about accusation. It is about revelation. Because once the heart senses betrayal, even before proof appears, it is never wrong. It is only early. There is a moment, often overlooked, when patterns begin to shift without explanation. Conversations shorten. Laughter sounds borrowed. Attention feels divided, as if a part of them is always elsewhere. You notice how their phone becomes a private world, how their smiles appear at unexpected times, how they protect their time with excuses that feel rehearsed. None of this is dramatic on its own. That is how deception survives. It hides inside normalcy. It dresses itself as stress, as busyness, as tiredness. And because you care, you give space. You offer understanding. You become patient beyond reason. But what you do not realize yet is that your patience has been mistaken for blindness. When someone begins to cheat emotionally or in action, they do not always become cruel. Often, they become careful. They study your reactions. They adjust their behavior just enough to keep you calm, just enough to keep you close, while their loyalty slowly drifts elsewhere. And this is the most painful part. You are not losing them suddenly. You are being slowly edited out of their inner world. You sense it when your words no longer land the same way. You feel it when your presence does not excite them as it once did. You hear it in the silence after you speak your truth. This is not imagination. This is your intuition trying to speak through the noise of attachment. Because when someone is cheating, the first thing they betray is honesty. Not with lies alone, but with emotional withdrawal. They begin investing energy where you cannot see it. They begin sharing thoughts that once belonged to you with someone else. And even if no one has confirmed this to you yet, your soul has already started connecting the pieces. It recognizes when it is no longer the chosen place of comfort. And that recognition hurts more than any confession ever could. Understand this clearly. Cheating does not always announce itself with dramatic evidence. It reveals itself through imbalance. You give more. You wait more. You explain more. You forgive more. And slowly, without realizing it, you begin shrinking yourself to keep the connection alive. You overlook what once would have concerned you. You rationalize what once would have alarmed you. This is not because you are weak. It is because attachment makes the heart brave in the wrong direction. You fight for what is already slipping. You protect someone who has stopped protecting you. And the hardest truth is this. The person you are attached to knows exactly how much power they hold over you. They know your kindness. They know your fear of loss. They know how deeply you have invested. And instead of honoring that, they use it as a shield. They believe you will stay, even if they wander. They believe your silence means acceptance. But silence is not acceptance. It is survival. And survival has a limit. The universe does not allow imbalance forever. Sooner or later, clarity arrives. Sometimes as a feeling you can no longer ignore. Sometimes as a moment that makes everything suddenly make sense. This script you are living through is not about punishment. It is about protection. Because the truth is preparing you for something bigger than the attachment you are afraid to lose. It is preparing you to choose yourself without guilt. Here is the part most people do not talk about. When someone cheats, it is not always because they stopped caring. Often, it is because they started wanting without responsibility. They wanted the comfort you provide and the excitement they seek elsewhere. They wanted to keep the image of loyalty while enjoying the thrill of secrecy. This has nothing to do with your worth. It has everything to do with their inability to be honest when honesty mattered most. And while you are questioning yourself, wondering if you did something wrong, they are avoiding their reflection. They are avoiding the truth that would require them to either fully commit or fully let go. Instead, they choose the space in between, where they can take without giving fully. And you feel this imbalance in your body. In your sleep. In your mood. In the way your thoughts return to the same questions again and again. You replay conversations. You analyze tone. You search for reassurance that never lasts. This is emotional exhaustion caused by loving someone who is no longer fully present. And still, you stay kind. You stay hopeful. You stay open. That is your strength, not your mistake. But strength is not meant to be exploited. It is meant to be respected. The revelation coming into your life is not meant to break you. It is meant to return you to yourself. Because once you see clearly, you will understand that love should never require you to doubt your reality every single day. Now listen carefully to this truth. What is coming next is not chaos. It is clarity. And clarity feels uncomfortable before it feels freeing. You may soon notice a moment where the mask slips. A story that does not align. An emotion that does not make sense. A reaction that reveals more than intended. When that moment arrives, do not rush to confront. Observe. Let the truth show itself completely. Because half answers keep you attached. Full awareness sets you free. This is not about revenge. This is not about proving anything. This is about recognizing when your heart has been sharing space with deception. The connection you feel is real, but the direction it is going is not. And the universe is giving you signs not to scare you, but to prepare you. Something is ending in its current form so that something more honest can begin. Whether that means transformation or release will soon become clear. But one thing is certain. You are not meant to live in confusion. You are not meant to compete for loyalty. And you are not meant to love someone who is already halfway gone. This realization, as painful as it feels right now, is the beginning of your power returning to you. And once it does, nothing will ever feel the same again. There is something you must understand before your heart tries to protect what your soul has already identified. This phase you are entering feels confusing not because you lack clarity, but because clarity is colliding with attachment. When truth rises, attachment panics. It tells you to wait, to give one more chance, to look away just a little longer. It reminds you of memories, of shared laughter, of promises spoken in softer times. But notice this carefully. Memories only speak of the past. They cannot explain the present behavior you are witnessing now. The discomfort you feel is not imagination. It is the moment your inner awareness begins separating reality from hope. You may feel an urge to prove yourself, to become more loving, more understanding, more available, as if effort could repair what honesty already abandoned. This urge is natural. It comes from fear of loss. But love is not sustained by effort alone. It survives on truth. And when truth weakens, no amount of patience can hold the structure together. What makes this stage powerful is that you are no longer fully asleep. Even when you smile, something inside you is watching. Even when they speak kindly, a part of you listens differently now. You sense what is unsaid. You notice what is avoided. This is not suspicion. This is discernment awakening. And once discernment wakes up, it never goes back to sleep. That is why this moment feels heavy. You are carrying awareness that no longer fits inside denial. And denial is the last shelter attachment tries to build before it collapses. You may start noticing how your emotional needs are quietly postponed. How your questions are met with deflection instead of reassurance. How your presence feels taken for granted while your absence suddenly creates irritation instead of longing. These are subtle signals, but together they form a clear message. Their emotional availability has shifted. Not disappeared completely, but redirected. And redirection is more dangerous than disappearance, because it keeps you waiting. It keeps you invested. It keeps you hoping that the version you love will return if you just hold on long enough. But people do not drift emotionally by accident. It happens when attention is being fed elsewhere. When someone begins to share excitement, vulnerability, or validation with another presence, they unconsciously withdraw it from you. And you feel this withdrawal as emotional loneliness, even when they are physically near. You sit beside them yet feel miles away. You speak but feel unheard. You love but feel unchosen. This silent distance is one of the strongest indicators that something sacred has been compromised. And the painful irony is this. The more you feel them pulling away, the more deeply you cling. Not because you are dependent, but because attachment reacts to threat by tightening its grip. It tries to secure what feels unstable. But stability cannot be forced. Loyalty cannot be negotiated. And honesty cannot be begged for. When someone is cheating, the first casualty is emotional safety. And once emotional safety is gone, love begins to feel like anxiety instead of peace. There will be moments now where you question your own reactions. You will wonder if you are overthinking, if you are being unfair, if your expectations are too high. This self-doubt is not random. It is the result of inconsistent behavior. When someone alternates between warmth and distance, it creates confusion. Confusion keeps you focused on fixing instead of seeing. It keeps you busy analyzing instead of accepting. And while you are busy questioning yourself, they are enjoying the comfort of not being questioned deeply. This imbalance benefits only one side. The side that has stopped choosing you fully. Understand this. Love that is real does not make you feel uncertain about your place. It does not require you to compete with silence. It does not ask you to ignore your instincts to maintain harmony. Peace is the natural state of genuine connection. Anxiety is the signal that something is off. And your body knows this before your mind is ready to accept it. That is why your sleep feels lighter. Your thoughts heavier. Your heart tired without a clear reason. You are carrying emotional labor that should never be one-sided. And this labor is exhausting you because it is not reciprocated. The truth you are approaching is not cruel. It is honest. And honesty, while painful at first, eventually becomes relief. Let this sink in deeply. Cheating is not always about another person being better than you. It is about someone choosing convenience over integrity. It is about avoiding difficult conversations while still enjoying emotional security. It is about wanting freedom without accountability. None of these things reflect your value. They reflect a lack of courage in the one who could not face the truth directly. And while you may be tempted to confront, to demand clarity, to force answers, sometimes the most powerful move is observation. When you stop explaining yourself. When you stop chasing reassurance. When you stop filling the silence they created. In that stillness, truth becomes visible. Patterns reveal themselves. Effort shows its absence. And you begin to see clearly whether someone is willing to meet you with honesty or continue hiding behind comfort. This is not about control. It is about self-respect. Because the moment you stop abandoning yourself to keep someone else, the dynamic changes. Either they step forward into truth, or they step further away into exposure. Both outcomes serve you. One brings repair through honesty. The other brings release through clarity. And both are better than staying trapped in uncertainty. What you are experiencing now is the beginning of emotional sovereignty. You are learning that attachment should never come at the cost of self-trust. That love should expand you, not diminish you. That being chosen should feel natural, not forced. The revelation unfolding in your life is not meant to shame you for loving deeply. It is meant to remind you that your depth deserves honesty, not secrecy. As this awareness settles, you will notice your strength returning quietly. Not as anger. Not as bitterness. But as calm. A calm that says, I see what is happening now. A calm that no longer needs constant reassurance. A calm that understands its worth without negotiation. This is the turning point. From here on, you will not unknow what you know. You will not unfeel what you feel. And whatever truth stands before you next, you will be ready to face it without losing yourself. Because the greatest loss was never them. It was the version of you that kept doubting their own intuition. And that version is finally being left behind. There comes a quiet hour when truth no longer hides behind emotion. In that hour, you begin to notice how your energy feels drained after every interaction, how conversations leave you unsettled instead of fulfilled. This is the stage where illusion starts losing its grip. You are no longer just sensing something is wrong. You are recognizing that your emotional investment is not being mirrored back to you. Their words may still sound caring, but their actions feel delayed, selective, and inconsistent. And inconsistency is not confusion. It is a choice. When someone truly values you, alignment happens naturally. Effort flows without reminders. Presence does not need to be negotiated. Yet here you are, feeling like you must earn attention that once came freely. This realization hurts because it contradicts the image you have protected in your heart. But it is also empowering. Because the moment you stop romanticizing potential and start observing reality, the fog begins to lift. You are not losing love. You are gaining clarity. And clarity always feels heavy before it feels liberating. This is the phase where your attachment weakens not because love disappears, but because self-respect starts speaking louder than fear. You will notice now how often they avoid depth. How serious conversations are postponed. How accountability feels uncomfortable to them. This avoidance is not accidental. It is strategic. When someone is cheating, even emotionally, they fear conversations that demand consistency. They fear questions that require transparency. So they keep things light. They change topics. They offer surface-level reassurance instead of real answers. And for a long time, you accepted that because you did not want conflict. You chose peace over truth. But peace built on silence eventually collapses. What you are realizing now is that you have been carrying the emotional weight of the connection alone. You have been the one adjusting, understanding, waiting. Meanwhile, they have been enjoying stability without responsibility. This imbalance is not love. It is comfort for one and confusion for the other. And the moment you see this clearly, something inside you shifts. You stop internalizing their distance as your failure. You stop blaming yourself for their lack of presence. You begin to understand that someone who is truly committed does not leave you questioning your worth in silence. At this stage, memories may attempt to pull you backward. Your mind will replay the beginning, the promises, the intensity, the way they once made you feel chosen. This is attachment trying to survive. It feeds on nostalgia. It reminds you of who they were, not who they are now. But growth requires honesty with the present. The person you are attached to today is not showing up the same way. And love is not measured by how it started. It is measured by how it continues. You are not betraying the past by acknowledging the present. You are honoring yourself. This distinction matters. Because many people stay too long, hoping the past will return, while ignoring the reality unfolding in front of them. You are being asked to see clearly, not cruelly. To observe without anger. To accept without self-blame. Because once acceptance settles, decision becomes possible. And decision brings power back into your hands. Notice how your intuition no longer whispers. It speaks firmly now. It points out patterns instead of isolated incidents. It shows you how their attention shifts when you need them most. How their empathy fades when accountability arises. How their consistency depends on convenience. These are not flaws you can fix. They are reflections of where their loyalty currently stands. And loyalty is revealed not in comfort, but in effort during discomfort. You are not asking for too much. You are asking the wrong person for what they are no longer willing to give. This truth does not make you weak. It makes you awake. And awakening often feels lonely at first. Because you can no longer share illusions with someone who is still hiding behind them. You see clearly now. And seeing clearly means you must choose whether to stay aligned with truth or return to denial. This choice is not easy. But it is necessary. Here is the final realization of this phase. You were never meant to shrink to keep a connection alive. You were never meant to doubt your instincts to preserve comfort. You were never meant to compete with secrecy for honesty. What is being revealed to you now is not meant to destroy your heart. It is meant to protect your future. The attachment you feel was real, but it does not justify betrayal, distance, or deception. Love that costs you your peace is not love that can last. And as this understanding settles, you will feel a quiet strength replacing your confusion. A strength that does not rush. A strength that observes. A strength that knows its value without needing validation. From this point forward, whatever unfolds will no longer catch you unprepared. Because you are no longer loving blindly. You are loving consciously. And conscious love never accepts half-truths in place of respect. There is a decisive moment when the heart stops asking for permission and starts asking for truth. This is that moment. You are no longer standing at the edge of uncertainty. You are standing inside awareness. What once felt confusing now feels quietly obvious. The connection you are holding on to no longer carries the same weight on both sides. You feel it in how easily they detach when things get serious. You feel it in how your emotions require explanation while theirs demand immediate understanding. This imbalance did not appear overnight. It was built slowly, choice by choice, silence by silence. And now, you are finally seeing it without excuses. This stage is uncomfortable because it removes the illusion that effort alone can save everything. It shows you that love without honesty becomes a performance. It shows you that attachment can survive truth only when both sides are willing to face it. And here, The truth is standing still while one side keeps walking away emotionally. You are not imagining this distance. You are measuring it accurately. And accuracy is power. At this point, something important happens inside you. You stop waiting for them to change and start observing who they already are. This shift is subtle but life-altering. You notice how accountability feels like pressure to them. How transparency feels like inconvenience. How your need for clarity is treated as a problem rather than a priority. These reactions reveal more than words ever could. When someone is cheating, they often protect their comfort by minimizing your concerns. They label your intuition as insecurity. They frame your questions as overthinking. This is not because you are wrong. It is because your questions threaten the structure of their secrecy. And secrecy cannot survive scrutiny. So it discourages it. What you are realizing now is that you have been emotionally negotiating for basic respect. And respect should never require negotiation. This realization stings, but it also strengthens you. Because once you see that your needs are valid, you stop apologizing for having them. You may feel a wave of grief during this phase. Not just for what is happening, but for what you believed could have been. You grieve the future you imagined. You grieve the version of them you trusted. You grieve the time you invested with sincerity. This grief is not weakness. It is proof that you loved deeply and honestly. But do not confuse grief with regret. Loving fully was never your mistake. Staying silent when your intuition spoke was never your failure. You did the best you could with the information you had at the time. Now, you have more information. And with it comes responsibility to yourself. Responsibility does not mean confrontation or conflict. It means alignment. It means no longer betraying your inner truth to maintain external peace. Peace that costs self-respect is not peace. It is suppression. As clarity sharpens, you will notice your reactions changing. You respond instead of reacting. You listen without absorbing everything emotionally. You observe patterns without rushing to explain them away. This emotional distance is not coldness. It is self-protection. You are no longer pouring energy into something that does not refill you. And this shift will be felt by the other person. Not because you announce it, but because energy always communicates before words do. When you stop chasing reassurance, the dynamic changes. When you stop filling gaps they created, silence becomes louder. This is when truth accelerates. Either honesty enters the space, or avoidance becomes undeniable. Both outcomes bring you closer to resolution. And resolution is what your soul has been craving all along. Not answers that confuse you further, but clarity that grounds you. Understand this final truth of this stage. You are not here to convince someone to choose you. You are here to recognize when someone already has not. And that recognition is not defeat. It is liberation. The attachment you feel does not disappear instantly, but it loosens its grip when fed with truth. You begin to remember who you were before doubt became routine. You begin to feel your confidence returning quietly. Not as arrogance, but as certainty. Certainty that love should feel safe. Certainty that loyalty should feel consistent. Certainty that your intuition deserves trust. From this point forward, you are no longer moving blindly. You are moving consciously. And whatever path unfolds next, it will be guided by awareness, not fear.